Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services Peace Corps Employer Spotlight. My name's Tim Knopf. I'm a human resources specialist, corporate recruiter in the Strategic Talent Acquisition and Resourcing team. Our team supports strategic recruitment efforts at USCIS. Our mission is to identify, attract, and inspire exceptional individuals toward a career of service in fulfillment of our USCIS mission. Thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to have you. This event focuses on returned Peace Corps volunteers, RPCVs, and Peace Corps employees. However, we also welcome AmeriCorps Vista volunteers and anyone else who was able to join us today. USCIS is a proud employer of a diverse workforce. Our employees come from a variety of backgrounds. Today, during our Employer Spotlight, we will provide a short overview of USCIS. We will hear remarks from our esteemed Deputy Director, Ms. Jennifer B. Higgins. We will have a career perspective roundtable discussion with RPCVs currently employed at USCIS. We'll also discuss information about careers at USCIS and tips for navigating the federal hiring process. We will also have an opportunity to listen to and field your questions. Before we get started, we wanted to share some housekeeping items. All participants' video and audio has currently been muted. Please do feel free to use the chat to ask questions or to interact with speakers or fellow participants. We may answer some questions as we go in the chat, and for other questions, we may defer to the question and answer session toward the end. We will give you the opportunity to verbally ask questions during question and answer session, and you can raise your hand virtually, and then we will unmute you at that time. This event is being recorded to be shared in the future, but it will not capture all of what is covered or typed in the chat. I'd like to tell you a little bit about who we are as we get started. USCIS is a component of the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and is the government agency that oversees lawful immigration to the U.S. Prior to the establishment of DHS, USCIS employees and functions were part of the Immigration and Naturalization Service, INS, under the Department of Justice. While there are other components of DHS that have a role in the immigration system, we are the immigration benefits granting component of the Department of Homeland Security. Our mission is to uphold America's promise as a nation of welcome and possibility, with fairness, integrity, and respect for all we serve. USCIS is responsible for a wide variety of services related to the lawful immigration process. We are very proud of all that we do and the populations whom we serve, who come from all over the world. We determine eligibility for citizenship and conduct the naturalization process all the way up to the point of taking the oath of allegiance. We oversee the process that allows current permanent residents and U.S. citizens to bring close relatives to the United States. We manage the process that allows individuals from other countries to work in the United States. We also manage E-Verify, our system that allows companies to verify the employment eligibility of their prospective new employees. We administer humanitarian programs that provide protection to individuals who are displaced by war and civil or political unrest, and those who are forced to flee their countries to escape the risk of persecution or torture. We proudly manage the first step in the international adoption process. We additionally provide resources to help immigrants with their integration into our American culture. We also provide researchers with access to historical information on immigration and naturalization records of deceased immigrants. An important takeaway is that our work is much more than just citizenship and naturalization services, and we're proud of all that we do. To get started on the next portion of our conversation, let us please introduce Jennifer B. Higgins, our USCIS Deputy Director. Jennifer was appointed as the USCIS Deputy Director on January 31st, 2022. Prior to becoming Deputy Director, she served in a variety of leadership roles during her more than 2 decades of federal service, including acting Chief of Staff at the Department of Homeland Security and Associate Director for the USCIS Refugee, Asylum, and International Operations Directorate. She has focused her career on administering the United States' longstanding humanitarian and immigration programs consistent with our nation's laws, values, and national security mandates. She has spearheaded a number of influential initiatives, including the development and continuous improvement of security vetting protocols, creation of a human-centered design approach to enhance adjudicative and procedural efficiency, and initiation of resilience and engagement programs to support and empower the workforce here at USCIS. Thank you, Deputy Director Higgins, for joining us today. And now we will hand it over to you. Deputy Director.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tim. And thanks to all of you for joining us for today's session to learn a little bit more about U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. As Tim noted, we are a component of the Department of Homeland Security, and we are the federal agency that oversees lawful immigration to the United States. Here at USCIS, our agency consists of nearly 20,000 employees working at more than 200 offices across the US and around the world. Our mission is truly a noble one, and it reflects one of our proudest traditions as a country. And just to put a little bit of a finer point on it from what Tim already shared, every day our workforce is working to uphold that mission. And the way we do that is in a variety of different ways. We process petitions for Americans to sponsor their relatives to immigrate to the United States. We interview refugee applicants abroad and asylum seekers who are in the United States or who are entering the United States and seeking a safe haven. We fingerprint and photograph thousands of individuals each day at over 130 application support centers nationwide. We process petitions to unite American families with children that they're adopting internationally. We ensure the employment eligibility of 100,000 new hires in the United States. And this is just each day. We provide lawful permanent residence, what are known as green cards, to more than 5,000 individuals. And finally, we have the privilege of interviewing applicants for naturalization and conferring citizenship to 3,200 new citizens at naturalization ceremonies every day across the country. And this is really just a snapshot of the incredible work that we do around the globe to uphold America's promise of welcome and possibility. And as you can see, we have an amazing mission and a dedicated and innovative workforce, and we're hiring. Our agency is growing by leaps and bounds, and we expect to bring on board over 4,000 new employees over the next several months. We're hiring employees to help manage and lead human resources, finance, contracting, data analytics, and record management. We need lawyers and project managers. And of course, at our very foundation, we need adjudicators, individuals to interview and process immigration benefits, such as refugee and asylum officers, immigration officers who process green cards and citizenship applications, and fraud and national security officers. Some of these jobs are geared toward in-person work, engaging with applicants, conducting interviews, or working in an office in a team. While some of our other opportunities offer the ability to telework, and some are even amenable to full-time remote work. We really do have something for everyone, and at offices across the US, even opportunities for international travel or to work in some of our offices abroad. And I am really excited that today you're going to have the opportunity to hear from a few of our current employees who are returned Peace Corps volunteers, and from members of our human resources team who will tell you more about the ins and outs of applying for jobs with USCIS, which I hope you'll do. But before I turn it over to the team, I did want to just share a few thoughts about why I chose to dedicate my federal career to the mission here at DHS and USCIS. I started as a presidential management intern. Now they're called presidential management fellows, but back then in 1999, we were called PMIs. And I stumbled into the immigration mission. Up to that point, I had a master's degree in international relations. I had been involved in human rights work, and I really thought that I'd work at the State Department or USAID. But I got a call from the Immigration and Naturalization Service, our predecessor agency, saying that they were interested in interviewing me for a position. And I thought, well, I'll participate in the job interview for practice. And I never really dreamed I would take the job, let alone make a career out of it. Fast forward 23 years later, and here I am. I definitely stumbled into the mission, but then I really fell in love with it. And there are so many reasons to love this work. I think that you're going to have a chance to hear from the panelists today, excuse me, that our work is incredibly rewarding. We change, even save lives. But I think what you're also going to hear is about the impact that this work will have on you. My decision to work in public service and immigration was a decision that has forever changed my life. Interacting with refugees and asylum seekers, immigrants seeking new opportunities, families who want to reunite to build a legacy here in the United States, many of whom have had to overcome barriers and hardship, sometimes unimaginable loss and persecution. Interacting with these individuals is life-changing. And it's life-changing because they give us the gift of perspective. It's a gift that I cherish and I am incredibly grateful for. Our mission is truly, truly special, as is our workforce and our workforce culture. The agency really invests in its workforce. We put a premium on training, both through world-class foundational training to prepare you for your first job with us, but also ongoing training opportunities and advancement throughout your career. We have employee engagement programs so that we can harness the innovative ideas and creative solutions of our workforce to create process efficiencies, change policies, improve our workplace, and better meet the needs of those we serve. You really get to build our agency for the future. And in fact, we're going through a bit of a technological renaissance here at USCIS, where some of our interviewing officers are also able to flex their coding skills. So we really have it all. And we have a collaborative team culture where we adapt and respond to the unexpected. I'm sure you've been reading in the news. Most recently, USCIS provided support for nearly 80,000 Afghan nationals through Operation Allies Welcome, and tens of thousands of Ukrainian nationals through the Uniting for Ukraine program, where we successfully stood up an end-to-end electronic process to allow sponsors in the US to provide a temporary safe haven for Ukrainian nationals in just a matter of weeks, a couple of weeks. And it's that kind of adaptability, creativity, and dedication that we know are really the same qualities that makes someone successful in Peace Corps or AmeriCorps. And we know that you bring with you a real desire to learn new skills and the ability to both work independently and in a team, while displaying patience, tenacity, and flexibility. You also bring with you an understanding of different cultures. And thanks to your experience living and working with people of diverse backgrounds, you have the ability to put applicants at ease during what can be a very stressful interview or interaction. You're looking for a job that isn't just a paycheck, but one that's meaningful. And your skills and our mission, I think, are really a perfect fit. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. I'd like to turn it back over to Tim so you have a chance to hear directly from the experiences of our panelists. And I really just want to thank you all again for joining the session. I hope you consider joining our team. Thanks so much. Back over to you, Tim. Oh, Tim, I think you're on mute.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments, Jennifer, and for joining us here today. At this time, I would like to turn this presentation over to Emily Boland, who's going to lead a discussion with some of our returned Peace Corps volunteers who work here at USCIS. Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks for inviting me to do this today. I am so excited to be able to host this panel today. We have our PCVs across the agency at all levels in all different positions, and I'm really looking forward to just discussing with this group sort of what they do and how they got here and how Peace Corps helped them. So just to start a little bit, my name is Emily Boland. I'm a senior advisor to the Deputy Director of USCIS. I served as a Peace Corps volunteer in El Salvador from 2009 to 2011. And I was in the municipal development program. So I worked in the mayor's office. I was assigned to the mayor and to the town council. And I got to do some really cool projects. You can see from the picture here, one of the first things I did was actually I spent the first 6 months of my time judging beauty queen contests with the mayor and the town council, which I was not qualified to do. But it was great because I got to go out and meet everybody. It was a little bit awkward after each event. There was like a community dance, and so I had to dance with the mayor for the first dance of each event and get it going. I don't dance, but I did to make sure that was successful. Yeah, and I did some. You can see a dental health campaign with the kindergarten class, taught the kids how to brush their teeth. And one of the things I was really most proud of was working with the small communities within my municipality to develop and legalize their sort of community development associations according to the Salvadoran law. Get them registered, legalized, and have bank accounts open in their names. After Peace Corps, I came back to the U.S. and kind of like Jennifer, I stumbled into USCIS. I had never heard it before. I didn't know anything about immigration. I knew I wanted to live in D.C. and be in the U.S. for a little bit, and I wanted to be able to use my Spanish skills and travel abroad. Like easy, right? There's millions of jobs doing that. So I found a posting online for a Spanish-speaking refugee officer job. I applied on USA Jobs, and I was so excited to get an interview and then to be offered the job. That was a little bit over 10 years ago, and I've had so many incredible opportunities at USCIS. And I'm really lucky and grateful that I stumbled into this agency and into this mission and the opportunities I've had as a result. So I'm excited to chat with all of you today a little bit more about how Peace Corps helped me get there. But I'd love to turn it over to the other panelists and let them introduce themselves as their slides come up.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Ann Corsano, and I too am a returned Peace Corps volunteer with USCIS. It's such a pleasure to be here, and as always, thinking about my Peace Corps days are just wonderful memories, and I love thinking about those days and how they've impacted my life. So what a pleasure to be here today. So I was, right now, I am the USCIS Pacific Northwest District Director in Seattle. I have 9 field offices in 6 states, going all the way out to Saipan, to the west, and to the east, all the way to Helena, Montana. So I have a wonderful broad coverage of offices and work that I do out here. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Philippines from 1979 to 1981 on a very small island in the Philippines in a health and nutrition program. And at that time, there was no electricity or running water on the island where I was posted. The boat came once every 3 months for people to leave the island, so I was sort of stuck there. And my local sponsor on the island was the Philippine Population Commission representative, and so much of my work focused on women's health. The only form of communication at that time was telex. We had no telephones and hence no cell phones with pictures, which is why I have very few pictures actually of my Peace Corps days. And, interesting, I loved hearing Emily talking about the dance with the mayor. I think many of us have had to dance with the mayor as well during our Peace Corps tour. I'll say that during my Peace Corps training, we learned to make herbal medicines from locally grown plants. And a lot of my really fond memories were getting together with women and mothers to make medicines because they had no medicine. People on my island didn't understand why their teeth were going black, and we were able to make a toothpaste there. And so it was really seeing the joy rather than helplessness as we made these medicines and some remedies so that they could feel a little bit more in control of their own health and their children's health. It was so rewarding for me, and teaching them, how to better take care of their own health. So really wonderful, wonderful years working with these great women on this tiny little island in the Philippines. I too, when because it was the late 80s when I finished, or early 80s when I finished my Peace Corps tour, it was the post-Vietnam War era, and I left the Peace Corps and ended up working for a nonprofit in the Philippines doing resettling refugees for another 3 years. So I remained in the Philippines doing that. And it was during those years that I became interested, found this transition from my Peace Corps work to refugees and asylees, and decided that, that was my love. I went back and went to law school, and out of law school decided that I was going to join USCIS. I've had probably longest career of those on the call today with USCIS. I've had several overseas tours, London, in Moscow. I was in Moscow running our large refugee program there. I was also in Rome over our operations in all of Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and the former Soviet Union. And then I've done many domestic jobs with INS and USCIS, and really sort of seen the full spectrum of the immigration process, which has been phenomenal. But, when I think back on my Peace Corps days, they really are what, launched me into this incredibly fulfilling career. And I know, many around me, I hear are unhappy or frustrated with their careers. And I while we all work is work and we all have frustrating days, I look back and just am so grateful for my career with USCIS. There is this tremendous symmetry between Peace Corps work and that in USCIS. There's travel. We hear about people's lives every day. We work on teams to solve problems, and we work in public service. And, I found all of these things at USCIS. We learn as Peace Corps volunteers resiliency. We learn to improvise, and we learn courage when life around us takes these dramatic turns at a moment's notice, and we have to respond. When we see these tragic things, when we saw these tragic things happen around us as volunteers, and throughout my career at USCIS, I really often reflect upon how I got started early in my career in the Peace Corps and learned many of these things: resilience, flexibility, improvisation, creativity, and have been able to apply those year after year in my many long years at USCIS. So I'll leave it at that, and Emily, turn it back to you or to Tim. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Anne. I appreciate it. All right, whose slide do we have up next? Corey.
Hey everyone, it's always nice to talk to a group of returned Peace Corps volunteers, and I feel like I haven't in a while, actually, since the pandemic started. So this is really refreshing to come here and talk to you. But I served in the Republic of Moldova from 1998 to 2000, which borders western Ukraine. So it's a sad time now, knowing that culture, knowing that area, seeing what's going on in Ukraine. But as Jennifer noted, it is nice to see that the agency that I work for is playing a pivotal role in helping some of those people that are fleeing persecution. But so I was 1998 to 2000. I went into the Peace Corps right after college. It was actually the first time I ever traveled abroad. I think out of my whole group of volunteers, there were about 50 of us or so. I was definitely the least traveled out of the group. So that was my first experience going abroad. And I was teaching English at a high school to juniors and seniors. That was my primary project. But then I also collaborated with the Soros Foundation, and I set up a debate program in my region, as well as getting funding through USAID to construct a sports gym, which you can see in the picture on the slide there. That was towards the end of my service, and then I also set up an English summer camp for high school students as well, and did some other secondary projects along the way, and it was a life-changing experience. You know, on the fun side, building on what Emily started, the theme of dancing. I feel like I danced more in the Peace Corps than I ever danced in my life, but just keeping a perspective on things, and I think maybe it was Jennifer, I think, who brought that point. And I feel like it gave me a new perspective, just as I'm sure it gave you different perspectives as well. And it's kind of nice now working for the Refugee Asylum and International Operations Director within USCIS to also work, with on asylum and refugee cases, which also impacts my perspective, but in a positive way. And anyway, after the Peace Corps, I went to law school and started doing appellate litigation for the Social Security Administration at the Office of the Chief Counsel. And that was it was challenging work, intellectually stimulating, rewarding. But in 2008, it was New Year's Eve, 2008, going into 2008, I reflected on, like, it was 10 years since I went into the Peace Corps in 1998. And I remember I was out with some friends celebrating the new year, and it hit me. I was like, I want to get back to my Peace Corps roots. What I was doing was fulfilling. It was a great job and everything, but I felt like I wasn't really helping anyone. If I won a case, someone was denied a benefit, and litigation is very adversarial. So I started volunteering during my free time with the International Rescue Committee, helping to resettle Burmese refugees. And then that was a great experience, and that led me to apply for a fellowship to return to graduate school to focus on refugees and migration. And then after a short consultancy with the UN World Food Program in Italy, I started with USCIS. So I've been at Headquarters Asylum, so I focus on asylum issues for over a decade now, which is mind-boggling. I can't believe it's been that long. But during that time, I've had amazing opportunities. I've had an opportunity to do a detail at the Department of State, Department of Justice. I've done refugee missions to Southeast Asia as well as Eastern Africa. And my work really is rewarding. And when I look back to that 2008 New Year's, going into 2008, that New Year's Eve, I just think, oh, wow, the universe, I am so glad for whatever reason the universe led me to my current position. Because honestly, when I talk to some of my friends from law school who are, still litigating and billing hours and doing that, I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, I am so thankful that I have the job that I have, that, it's a kind of, my job is like at the intersection of law and policy. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm helping someone. So if I review a case and I find that it's legally sufficient, meaning that it's good to go to grant someone asylum or refugee status, I know, like, I've changed their lives. Like, that family, their lives are forever changed. They're never going to forget that moment, and you can't beat that. And then also, my colleagues are all either former Peace Corps volunteers or human rights activists or people who have basically good hearts. So you're working with, a lot of great people, which makes a difference too. So I'm just really, I feel fortunate. And just one more thing I just want to say is that I do hope after USCIS to come full circle and do the Peace Corps again. I think that would be a great, starting my career in the Peace Corps and ending in the Peace Corps is my hope.
Great. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're on our panel. All right. Who do we have up next? Joshua?
Hi, everyone. My name is Joshua Birmingham. I did Peace Corps in Senegal from 2009 to 2011. I was a urban agriculture volunteer. I was located in the very north of Senegal in a town of Podor, Senegal, next to Mauritania. I worked on urban agriculture projects. My biggest project was a USAID project at a hospital to try to increase food production at this hospital to provide to patients. I really enjoyed my experience in Peace Corps. It was a great 2 years. And when I came back, I used my non-competitive eligibility to get a job with CIS. And I actually started July 30th, 2012, so I'm almost hitting 10 years. And I've kind of had a journeyman type of career. I started at the Vermont Service Center as immigration service officer. I was an asylum officer in New York City. I was an immigration service officer at the Columbus, Ohio field office. And then I transferred to headquarters, fraud detection, national security. And I've been doing that for the past couple of years. And my current position, I'm still with fraud detection, national security. I'm actually embedded with Homeland Security investigations at the National Lead Development Center up in Vermont. It's a really interesting position. I really enjoy my work. We do, USCIS, we do have some interesting liaison type positions. This is my first time ever being embedded with a different agency besides USCIS. And it's been really interesting to work with another federal agency. And I've been doing that close to the past 3.5 years. And yeah, I kind of, stumbled into USCIS as well. And I kind of was, trying to figure out what I was going to do, after I got back from Peace Corps. And I'm really glad that, I found USCIS. It's been great these past 10 years. And there's a lot of RPCVs in this agency. And I think the interesting thing about, meeting another RPCV in CIS is, maybe you served in a different country or at a different time, but there's always those kind of like common bonds, and you kind of, really can share a lot, and there's a lot of mutual things. So it's been great. And if anybody has any questions about fraud detection, national security, or Senegal or CIS or whatever, I'm here to answer any questions. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks. I appreciate it. So I sense a common theme that we all sort of stumbled into this and stayed. So I'm glad we can help talk to an audience so that we can help them stumble into this as well. All right, Rebecca.
Absolutely stumbled. Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Murray. I served in Peace Corps in China from 2010 to 2012. I was in Guizhou province in the southwest part of China. Before that, I had gotten a bachelor's degree in graphic design and worked in marketing for a few years. So joining Peace Corps was sort of a turn for me in that I knew I wanted to move toward social services or toward a position that would help people. And then I used my non-competitive eligibility to enter USCIS right after Peace Corps. So I've been with the agency for about 10 years in a few different positions. I've always been an adjudicator. Right now, I am a worldwide refugee officer in the Refugee Affairs Division. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm glad you're here and you can provide your perspective from lots of different positions. All right, who do we have? I think we've got one more. Brandon?
Hi, I'm Brandon Gieza. I was in Mongolia from 2011 to 2013. I worked at a small chamber of commerce in the middle of the desert. So If you know how big Mongolia is, it's like the size of Texas with only 3 million people. So there's a lot of space between. So we were a fly site. So just to give a description, that would be 3 hours from the capital, and that the capital's in the middle of the country. So we were pretty much left to our own devices where we were. So I've helped small businesses. I did trainings, in, basic business skills. I worked with restaurants because we did have a tourism business and they wanted to be able to cater towards Westerner food. So I helped do cooking classes. You can see a picture of that there. We also did English for customs officers because, people who were packages going back and forth, they needed to be able to read the labels. Trust me, it's very hard to describe when I got a package of medicine from the Peace Corps office that had a rip bag, powder was coming out of it. I'm trying to explain it's drugs, but not that kind of drugs. So, because I actually had a flu at the time. So I was trying to get some really nice penicillin. In my free time, I ran movie clubs at a library sponsored by the U.S. Embassy. We also did some English classes for TOEFL. So mostly it was teachers trying to improve their skills in the community. My host family, we picked strawberries in the middle of a field. So it was driving out and picking very small alpine strawberries, which, if you know, they're very, very small. So to get a decent amount to make jam took almost the entire day. I also had the advantage of, in Mongolia, there's some famous petroglyph caves. That was 3 hours from the town I lived in. And it was actually funny because as soon as I came back, I realized the town I was living in, they were all over the place. So I didn't have to drive 3 hours in the desert. I could have actually just walked into a mountain that was like next door to my apartment and would have found all these ancient petroglyphs, which were beautiful and amazing to see that they've been there for thousands of years. The work I do, I currently am the Senior Immigration Service Analyst within W41, so I work with Anne. But by beginning my career, because I came out of Peace Corps, I had previously worked for Wall Street Journal. I had my MBA. I was in this opportunity and chance to sort of decide after Peace Corps, I could go anywhere, do anything. So I took the opportunity to come out to Seattle, which is what I always wanted to. I picked Peace Corps, USCIS because, like everyone else, I just kind of lucked into it. It put me in an office and a job that I wanted to do in the middle of the part of the country I wanted to go to. And I lucked into it because I was in the fraud detection and national security, and I got to work on some fraud analytics and do some studies within our local community. And it's really interesting when you're trying to find a way, and people think, oh, fraud, you're trying to stop people, but in reality, you're also trying to help improve the process, because if you can figure out what isn't fraud, you can actually help accelerate everyone else's application and get people through this hard nationalized process quicker. And so I got to see that firsthand when we actually created new studies and new implementations within at least the Seattle field office. I, after 2.5 years, then became the immigration service analyst in the Seattle field office, which, you're helping the office and the field office director try to increase the productions that they're able to provide to the community at large. So you're giving them recommendations on how to improve the operations of the office, how many interviews can they handle. You're trying to maximize everything with the limited resources that we have available. And, I found that challenging and interesting, and I really enjoyed it. So now I moved up to the district level, where I'm kind of helping do that for 9 field offices from Guam to Montana. So it's an amazing thing. And some of the great experiences within USCIS, coming soon is the July 4th ceremony, where we at the USCIS in Seattle at the Space Needle will usually, pre-COVID, be doing 600 plus people. It's still going to be a very large ceremony, but it's an amazing thing when you can actually get to hands-on. And as someone who's the immigration service analyst, I don't actually get directly to see someone naturalize on a regular basis. And so for me, that's a very positive experience that I get to enjoy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brendan. So this, as true overachieving Peace Corps volunteers, you all actually answered most of my questions in your introduction. So this is going to be a short panel because I think you hit on almost everything. But I do want to just discuss a little bit with some of you, your thoughts and where you've gone, and really just want to ask, like, how did Peace Corps sort of prepare you for the career that you're in, or your time at USCIS? And I guess for people who are applying too, I guess that how should people sort of sell their Peace Corps service when they're applying for jobs at USCIS?
I could jump on that. So I worked for about 6.5 years at the Omaha field office. So the field office directorate is where we do green card and naturalization interviews for applicants. It's where we conduct naturalization ceremonies. We also just have a lot of daily interaction with applicants from every different country. So one thing I really appreciate about my Peace Corps service is that it prepared me to interact with people across cultural barriers and language barriers. It helped me, I mean, we all know that Peace Corps gives a lot of cultural training and understanding or trying to be humble about our cultures and not make assumptions about other cultures or other people. So I think bringing that background and that approach into my time at the field office has helped me a lot to just have more successful interviews, to be able to communicate more effectively with the applicants. And like someone said before, these can be really intimidating interviews for our applicants. It can be a really scary thing to come into a government official's office and you don't know what's going to happen. So for me to be able to make that experience a little less intimidating and more pleasant and still getting the job done and doing what I need to do has been really good. And I think Peace Corps made a big difference in that.
Yeah, that's so true. And I imagine our hiring officials who are also on this panel would agree that might be something they look for when they're hiring. Does anybody else have anything they want to weigh in on this one?
Could jump in just on this, Emily. So, and a lot of the skills from Peace Corps we've talked about, the resilience and flexibility. I think really one of the most important ones, though, is humility. And I look at humility being knowing your strengths, what you're good at, and knowing what you're not. And I think, going forward in our careers, and we see that very distinctly when we're a Peace Corps volunteer every day, what we're good at. And boy, I don't know anything about this, or, how am I going to solve this problem? So that humility, the importance of that I learned in Peace Corps really is so important, as I have had throughout my career at USCIS. And I think it also has really prepared me for what we do in federal government, which is to lead people and to lead change in our role as public servants. That is what we have to do. We have to lead and make things better. Peace Corps is also incredibly inspiring. I think we all came out of those couple of years feeling inspired and excited about what we can do. And at USCIS, our role is to inspire people to make our immigration system the best it can be. Where would we all be in this world if we're not trying to make it better? And that is, I think, what many of us want to do is, after we came out of Peace Corps, is to make our world better. And I'll just kind of end with one comment. I remember this debate in my head after Peace Corps: where can I serve best, inside or outside the government? Where can I have the biggest impact? And there were a lot of people that kind of told me, well, you don't want to work for the government; they're the bad guys. But I can say wholeheartedly that the impact you can have within the government every day is just enormous. The positive impact you can have, whether it be at a policy level or just on a day-to-day level with the people with whom we have the pleasure of interacting every day, our applicants that walk in the door, seeing their faces every day after our interactions is just an incredibly positive experience. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. All right, recognizing that we're on a little bit of a schedule, I want to sort of conclude with one question and just ask everybody really briefly, if we could go around the panel, just What do you find the most meaningful thing you've done with USCIS? Like what's been the most meaningful part of your career? And whoever wants to go first.
Hey, Emily, I could go first. No one else wants to jump in first, but I think I alluded to this a little bit when I was giving my introduction about how every case that you work on, or like at least I work in the asylum context and refugee context, so every case that I work on directly impacts someone's life. And whether you're in the refugee and asylum context, or if you're working on naturalizations or permanent resident cards, the work you're doing is going to forever impact someone's life. And as far as like the most meaningful, it is hard because I feel like they're looking back over the past 10 years, there have been many meaningful cases. But I think going on the refugee missions to both Tanzania and Malaysia, particularly, for example, both. In Malaysia, I felt like I was coming full circle working with and adjudicating Burmese cases. And that's what I started with when I started volunteering with International Rescue Committee. And hearing the stories of people who, in Malaysia, they're mostly in like urban areas, but in Tanzania, working with the Congolese refugees, some of them who've been in refugee camps for generations. And so they're sitting in front of you, whole families, and they've been in these camps for generations. And the decision you're about to make is going to possibly be like a life changer for them. And so it's hard to put into words like how that makes you feel. But in short, was very fulfilling.
Corey, you made it hard for whoever follows you next on this panel. But Brendan, Joshua, do either of you want to jump in?
I'll jump in. I'll say that for me, I mean, I don't have that experience of like then the 4th of July ceremonies where I'm, directly involved with helping people. I help the office. And so I get joy when I'm able to do that for the office. I'm a small cog, but, in theory, it can be, you can have a very big impact on, the whole agency as a whole, because I can find ways to improve processes. And one of my favorite things is when we have like a big challenge to try to increase the number of interviews that we do at an office, where I get to do a lot of research. I get to, play in the database systems and come up with a new solution. And that's where I get the joy from my work. But I'm an analyst, so maybe that's just my takeaway. Playing in data is what I get joy from. And but that small little piece can have bigger effects when we can again, maybe increase in one office like Seattle, which is a very big office, 10 interviews a day. That doesn't seem like a lot for a lot of people, but when you multiply that out through in a year, that's in fact impacting like 300 a month lives, depending on how many people we see and how many days we interview. Or just like, can we do a Saturday ceremony or Saturday, thing just to help boost things like that can have huge effects across our office and boost our productivity. And that's where I get joy. And I think that's where I get to see a lot of impact on a lot of people.
It's good, and you bring up a good point too. I know we've talked a lot about our adjudication, but we have these careers too where like you can impact the lives of your colleagues and your coworkers and set the agency up to be able to deliver on that mission so effectively, which I think all of us as returned Peace Corps volunteers kind of take joy and pride in. So it's great that you mentioned that there's opportunities to do that as well. So thanks. All right, Rebecca, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just want to add what I said earlier about making the experience more pleasant is really meaningful for me, but I've also really appreciated that I've been able to kind of curate my career according to my own personal interests and values. So I spent a few years during my time at the field office getting a master's in social work, and my field office was really accommodating with my schedule. They helped me each semester, they let me flex my schedule. And I'll also say that the agency provides tuition reimbursement often. So they pay for about 2/3 of my master's degree. I was also able to get trained and certified in the Department of Homeland Security's mediation program. So this is something where I now can conduct or facilitate mediations for other employees in other agencies of Department of Homeland Security. And that's a collateral duty, and it's just something that I've been able to do because I was interested in it and had nothing to do with any of my job descriptions. But I've never been bored with USCIS, and that's because there's all these opportunities to seek out what I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks for sharing. All right, Anne, I see your hand is up too.
Right, and I'll just mention one story. It's so hard to talk about the most meaningful work because there's been so much of it. But I'll share one story. In 2004, our USCIS began interviewing applicants for naturalization that were in the military outside of the United States, and so we were able to fly into Iraq to interview military members at that time. And when we first started, I remember it was a very Peace Corps experience, sleeping on the tarmac in Kuwait, waiting for a flight to get on a military aircraft because there was no schedule. So we just had to sleep on the tarmac, didn't know when we were going to eat or what we were going to eat. Got on a plane, flew into Iraq to some unknown base. And then we would have military members who were coming off of their missions for their naturalization interview. At that time, there were about 70,000 non-citizen military members, and they were serving our country, putting their life on the line every day. I had interviews with people who were coming in from their Humvee missions, having been bombed, still shaking as they went through their interview, and then to be able to tell them at the end that they passed and that they were going to become a U.S. citizen, the tears in their eyes, the impact on their families, the safety and security that they felt at the end of that was, something that brought, tears to my eyes, and I think, everybody that we worked with as we saw these people. The work that we did such dramatically changed their lives, and so, that's just something I think that happens almost every day in every one of our offices. So
you might have brought tears to my eyes a little bit too. All right. Joshua, do you want to close us out? Or I think we've got another hand after you. Do you want to go?
Nothing really to add, kind of what Corey said earlier, just making an impact on people's lives. That's huge in our positions. So pretty much what Corey said.
Awesome. It's a common theme, which is fantastic. So I just wanted to say thanks to all the panelists for joining us today. You brought incredible experience. You are so valuable to the agency. I'm really happy to call you all colleagues, and thank you for joining us today. I hope the people that are on the call are excited about jobs, because I'm going to turn it back over to our HR colleagues who are going to tell us a little bit about how to sort of go through the career path to look for jobs at USCIS and find out a little bit more about how to apply. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as part of our USCIS Peace Corps Employer Spotlight. Thank you to my colleagues who joined us as part of the Peace Corps panel. I learned a lot from you and a lot of meaningful experiences that you've had. My name is Amelia Palmer. I'm a Human Resources Specialist Corporate Recruiter in the Strategic Talent Acquisition and Resourcing team. Our team supports strategic recruitment efforts at USCIS, and our mission is to identify, attract, and inspire exceptional individuals towards a career of service in support of the USCIS mission. I'm joined today by my colleague who you've already met, Tim Noth, who's also on our Strategic Talent Acquisition and Resourcing team. So I will, at this time, hand it over to Tim. We're just going to start talking a little bit about how you can get to a career at USCIS, and hopefully we can give you some tips and have you join us in the future. So thank you. I will hand it over to Tim.
Thank you, Amelia. And thank you everyone on our panel and Jennifer for the great discussion. I'm going to go a little bit quicker given the time than I might have before. This information will be available to all attendees in the future, and Amelia and I will remain available to each of you via direct contact for any questions. So I'll just cover some highlights on the first few slides, and then Amelia, I'll turn it back over to you for some of the science of the application process. Great news, we are hiring, and we are, although currently comprised of 19,000 employees across 200 offices worldwide, as Ms. Higgins mentioned, we are growing. We're in a hiring surge, and increased hiring is a top priority. And although we have the need to fill a number of positions, top quality motivated folks who are interested in our line of work is what we're most interested in. We have approximately 4,400 vacant positions, and our goal is to fill 95% of those positions by the end of this calendar year on December 31st, 2022. Next slide, please. There are many careers at USCIS. As we've just heard, there's a number of great positions that our panel members have held and currently have. It could start with one of the positions listed here in immigration benefits adjudication, immigration benefits support, fraud detection, intelligence and security, and many other great positions. It is important to note that while USCIS does have officers serving in many capacities, these are not necessarily traditional law enforcement officer positions like you might expect to see in the great adjacent components that we work with in Homeland Security. And we're happy to work with each of those agencies, and we're happy to tell you a little bit more about each of our officer positions, should you be interested. Please be sure to research these jobs and also reach out back to us if you need any additional help. Next slide, please. We've got many exciting careers in a number of locations worldwide. As we've mentioned, we have presence in every state, several U.S. territories, and also several foreign locations. Many of our positions will allow for some form of telework. And also, in addition to working in one of our domestic offices, some of our positions will allow for some form of partial or full-time remote work so that you can have a great impact on our mission from wherever you are. Just please be aware that each of our positions, entitlements, and benefits in that regard may be slightly different. Most of the employees who join USCIS do start our careers here in a domestic facility as shown on our agency locations map, but there are opportunities to pursue our work with USCIS also outside of the continental United States. In addition to presence in every state that we're depicting here, we do have a presence in our US territories that include Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands, Guam, and Saipan. With regards to our international agency presence, our international opportunities include locations specifically where our refugee officers interview individuals seeking refugee status, and we do have permanent office and personnel presence in China, Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Kenya, and India. USCIS proudly employs a diverse workforce of people with many different backgrounds. This includes, but is not limited to, of course, as featured today, returned Peace Corps volunteers, our former Peace Corps employees, and AmeriCorps Vista volunteers. We're proud to employ many veterans, certain military family members, individuals with disabilities. We also seek and recruit from the National Security Education Program and the award recipients of their scholarships with NSEP. We have many employees who were formerly employed at other DHS components and federal agencies. We are always seeking employment from recent students as interns and full-time employees, and we're proud to hire naturalized U.S. citizens. We've highlighted returned Peace Corps volunteers, Peace Corps employees, and AmeriCorps Vista volunteers, not only because you're joining today, but because we all highly value the contributions that you have made, and hopefully we'll be seeking to continue that here with us in USCIS. There are many qualities that make a great USCIS employee, as you've seen evidenced today by our panel members. We truly value teamwork. This is more than just an agency, it's a team. In fact, it feels quite like a family to most of us. And we were looking for people who work well with others and want to help that entire family team grow. We're very interested in problem solvers. Every day we encounter new opportunities and challenges, and we're looking for individuals who can find innovative ways to achieve success, and that is our biggest asset is our people. We look for folks who are able to leverage great interpersonal skills. Our work requires us to successfully interact with many people every day, and performing our work successfully together usually requires working well with others. We're looking for folks with an ability and a desire to learn and try new things. As you've heard, many of us come from different backgrounds and have found our way to USCIS. And we're looking for folks who can bring that experience into our shared learning. And also for individuals who are open and eager towards the personal and professional growth that's available here. They make a great fit. Passion for helping others. As the only immigration benefits granting agency in the United States, we have an important mission to help individuals navigate the immigration benefits process while also ensuring the integrity of our immigration system. Those that have a love for helping others help us accomplish our important mission are a great fit. A great commitment to service and help us and support the great work of administering our nation's lawful immigration system, and also a drive to serve a greater purpose can help align you well in our USCIS team. Cultural sensitivity and adaptability is vital to our success as an agency, and having members who can navigate and adapt in their interactions with individuals from many different cultures is irreplaceable, and it helps to establish rapport and gather information in a efficient manner. We are sure that your service in the Peace Corps and/or America Vista has likely helped you develop and cultivate a number of these great competencies, and we look forward to you applying those to your work with USCIS. I'll quickly just let you review some of the employee benefits here without a major description, but we do have a multifaceted retirement system that is similar in some cases to a retirement savings plan like a 401k with agency contributions. Great health benefits, opportunities for life insurance, paid leave, including up to 12 weeks of paid parental leave under the current system. We have programs that help promote great work-life balance and offer assistance to employees in specialized areas like financial planning and many other facets of work-life balance. There is an ability to credit your Peace Corps and AmeriCorps Vista service toward your leave accrual and retirement, and that can be researched with our benefits department. We have career growth opportunities, training, many developmental opportunities to help support your career-long personal and professional development. Most importantly, whatever role you have in our agency, your work is supporting our mission of upholding America's promise as a nation of welcome and possibility. We look forward to speaking with you on that further. And at this time, I'd like to hand it back over to Amelia.
Thank you so much, Tim. So right now, I'll just share a little bit more about using your non-competitive eligibility if that applies to you, and some application tips and how to apply. Just kind of discussing your non-competitive eligibility, what can it do for you? It allows you to apply for opportunities outside of USA Jobs, which is the federal government's job board. That is the standard competitive process. So this allows you to go around that. It allows you to apply to additional job opportunities on USA Jobs as well. Some of our announcements that are open to federal employees are also open to special hiring authorities, including Peace Corps and AmeriCorps. The benefits of non-competitive eligibility and what makes it great for you and for us as an agency is that there's less competition. Hiring managers can hire you without posting a job opportunity, which means that can get hundreds of applicants. So they can hire you more quickly. There are less people to consider. The application process is generally faster. Hiring managers can select and hire individuals without having to post a job opportunity announcement. And this is great. It's desired by hiring managers because it is quicker and easier to fill positions than a traditional job opportunity announcement. And just to compare a little bit what it looks like using non-competitive eligibility compared to a member of the general public. A member of the general public has only one avenue to apply. A non-competitively eligible candidate will likely have more opportunities available to you on USA Jobs and more avenues to apply. For those of you who did not serve as a Peace Corps or AmeriCorps Vista volunteer or as a Peace Corps employee, keep in mind that other special hiring authorities apply, such as those for individuals with disabilities and veterans. For those of you who are not eligible under a special hiring authority, please keep in mind that we do have a number of opportunities that are open to the public as well. So there's a great way to start your career with USCIS. And your eligibility, we'll quickly go through that because I know you probably will have learned that from the Peace Corps. But for Peace Corps or volunteers or AmeriCorps Vista, if you have 1 year of service or sufficient service as determined by Peace Corps or AmeriCorps, your eligibility lasts for 1 year, which can be extended for additional 2 years up to 3 years for a variety of circumstances, and those are on a case-by-case basis, or and engage in another activity that USCIS determines is going to warrant eligibility extension. And that's what I'm happy to report today is that USCIS has authorized a blanket extension of eligibility for individuals whose Peace Corps volunteer service ended on or after January 1st, 2020. That will help you as individuals who may have been displaced due to the COVID pandemic continue your service and transition into a career with USCIS, and we're very hopeful you'll take advantage of that. Quickly about your supporting documentation to apply. All we need is a letter showing your end date of service and that you have non-competitive eligibility. For Peace Corps employees, it's a little bit different. If you have 36 months of continuous Peace Corps service without a break in service of 3 or more days, you're eligible. You must be hired within 3 years following your Peace Corps employment. What we need from you to support that is the official letter from Peace Corps showing that you have non-competitive eligibility and an SF-50, a notice of personal action or equivalent that documents your employment with the Peace Corps. Okay, so just to go on to the hiring process, what it might look like for you. Now, the hiring process might look different for those who are applying outside of USA Jobs, and it may not look the same for everyone, but just to kind of give you a quick overview, we're going to discuss a little bit about finding your opportunity and applying. Keep in mind that there's additional steps in the process that may happen after your application. Okay, first off, where you can find your career. So a little prior to finding your opportunity, it's just exploring and learning more about USCIS. Visit our careers page to learn more about working for USCIS. Under our careers page, there is a career opportunities page that gives a little bit more in detail about each of our common positions. So that's a great opportunity to learn more about what we have to offer. And next, after you've explored and kind of figured out what you want to do, find your opportunity. Look on USA Jobs. So this link here will link you to our specific USCIS opportunities. Make sure to search for those that are open to Peace Corps as well as those that are open to the public. Also check out our PCV career link. A lot of our offices do post on our PCV career link. Also connect with hiring offices. So if you find opportunities to engage with USCIS representatives at recruitment and outreach events, or just through networking, mention your non-competitive eligibility if that applies. Okay. So the next step after you found your opportunity is to apply. So navigate to the job opportunity announcement if it's in USA Jobs, or if it's on our PCV career link, look at what the bulletin recommends. Follow all application instructions. Note that if the application process requires multiple assessments, you must complete all assessments to be considered. That will be listed in the job announcement as well. Keep in mind that you must submit all required documents and complete the application by 11:59 p.m. on the closing date listed in the bulletin or the announcement. Make sure to include your documents that show your non-competitive eligibility. That will help us give you that, consider that eligibility for you. Make note that if you're applying on USA Jobs, some announcements have an applicant cap. That means it will close on the end of the day when we reach that applicant cap. So if you see one of those, make sure to apply quickly. If you have non-competitive eligibility, take advantage of opportunities to share your application with a USCIS representative. So get in contact with us. We will reach out to you after this event and share your interest in our agency. Okay, so this is kind of the last part of our presentation that we wanted to share. Just some application tips there. We could go on for days about some tips that we'd love to share with you, but we just kind of narrowed it down to a few that we hope you can take away. First, read the entire job opportunity announcement, especially on USA Jobs. Pay particular attention to the responsibilities, qualifications, and required documents section and who it's open to. Make note that USCIS has a 5-page resume length policy. HR, to determine that you meet the requirements, will only review the first 5 pages. Hiring managers may consider the entire resume, but you want to make sure the first 5 pages has all what you need to get referred to the hiring manager. Federal resumes do not have to be extensive, but they do not have to be as short as the private sector resume. So more than 1 to 2 pages is totally fine. We still recommend 5 or less. Resumes should demonstrate how your experience meets the qualification requirements outlined in the job announcement. So go back to that qualification section. Tailor your resume to the position for which you're applying. That is so important. Now, next, early on in your federal career, your transcript may help you meet the requirements of the position, the education that you've received. Make sure to submit a transcript that shows your name, the name of the school. Keep in mind that the transcript you submit at a time of application can be unofficial, but at some point you may need to supply a full official transcript. So that concludes our application tips, how to get to a career with USCIS. I know we've gone over our intended hour, but we thank you for staying with us and learning more about USCIS. At this time, I understand some of you may have had to drop off, but we would like to open it up for questions, and we'll go through the chat to see if there are any questions that haven't been resolved, as well as if you would like to speak your questions, please do raise your hand. We'd be happy to hear from you and answer those questions. And I think,
Amelia, I just wanted to add one thing, and thank you so much. In my haste to abbreviate some comments, I failed to mention an important thing, which is I'd like everyone to know proudly, since the beginning of 2016, USCIS has hired 258 employees using Peace Corps Volunteer and AmeriCorps Vista Hiring Authority. And certainly we have a number of other folks in our ranks who may have been in the Peace Corps, may have served in AmeriCorps Vista, and may have found their way to our workforce even after their non-competitive eligibility. So it's certainly both a Peace Corps and AmeriCorps Vista friendly workforce, and we look forward to any contacts. The last slide that was up there had our USCIS talent acquisition email, and you can reach Amelia or me at that box with a specific question or just a conversation starter. And please do not hesitate. There are no silly questions, only great questions that become great conversation starters and give everyone, including us, a better idea of how to best help you.
Thank you, Tim. So I'm looking through the chat and I'm seeing we had some questions that were, some of them were answered by our panel members. So thank you so much. Um, just going through to see if we have additional that we can answer. So we have an individual who asked, mentioned they've been applying to the asylum officer position a number of times. I think we may have, we did answer that question. So to Becca, you definitely provided some advice here. And it's, look at for all opportunities to apply, whether it be our PCV career link, USA jobs, pay attention to those announcements and tailor your resume. And make sure to submit your transcript. It is a competitive process, so please know that even if you don't get through the first few times, you're a valuable candidate, and it can just take a little while to get into the government. Okay, awesome. So let's see. We think we answered a few of them. Oh, Cassandra, some of the positions that I currently see on USA Jobs require travel. Does that mean you have to have a driver's license and or car? Perhaps the travel pertains to training. So some of the travel will be provided by the agency if you're traveling to training. Now, I will say if a driver's license is required, if a car is required, that will be listed in the job opportunity announcement under requirements. So keep in mind for some positions may require that, but a lot of our positions don't. The travel would be us paying you and arranging your travel. Um, Thank you. I see a few people are dropping off, but thank you for joining us. And I apologize we've gone over, but I've enjoyed being with you all. And we'll continue to answer some questions. So we have somebody says they have a 15-year background in medical sales. I want to apply to a role that would be of help service to others. I will say that, and I just talked about this with a colleague before this event, is that you can take a career that is unrelated to your background and your education. I stumbled in, as many of the participants mentioned as well. My education was unrelated to what I'm doing here, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for you to join and find a role that you can grow with. You might start as more of an entry or mid-level, but at the same time, grow with the agency. We will train you, we will provide you the resources you need to be successful. And everything we do within the agency helps support our mission. So there's a lot of meaningful work in all corners of what we do. So I see. Okay, so great question about what minimum requirements to apply for outside the U.S. So we do have a U.S. citizenship requirement, as was mentioned and answered in a few questions. That is a requirement, but as soon as you become a U.S. citizen, you are absolutely eligible to apply. We also have a residency requirement. You have to have lived in the U.S. for the last 3 of the last 5 years. There are some exceptions, so that will be listed in the job opportunity announcements on USA Jobs. So don't, keep in mind those exceptions. And Peace Corps working with a government sponsored agency is an exception. So keep that in mind. And I think we might have covered some of these questions, but I know we've got some hands raised. So we'll go through some of those. And if you have something in the chat that we haven't been able to answer, please, raise your hand or make sure to ask it again. So first, we've got Emmanuel. So I'm going to allow your mic. Emmanuel, you can unmute yourself now if you're ready. We'd love to answer your question.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel. And then my question is this opportunity open for only a citizen or people that have a green card, a permanent resident?
So that's a great question. So in order to apply and be considered for unemployment, you have to be a U.S. citizen or U.S. national. But if you're on the trajectory to become a U.S. citizen or national, we encourage you to keep thinking about USCIS. And when you're at that point, we will definitely, we'd love to have you apply. Okay. Thank you, Emmanuel. And I hope we answered your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I saw some, let's see, I think we had a hand raised earlier, but it kind of went down. Oh, so, okay, let me enable. Ruben, thank you for your question. You are able to unmute now.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes.
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, thanks so much. No, I was just wondering, so the best way to find these openings, and obviously there's for different people, like you said, different backgrounds or different interests. Should we just go straight to the USCIS website, or what is the best way to see the opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to share my screen again. So on our last slide, and we will provide these slides as a handout to you. So we'll send you out an email after this event with the slides with some additional handouts as well. So you will get this. So you don't have to worry about writing this down, but I just wanted to show it to you again. So you can learn more about going to our public website, uscis.gov/careers. From there, there's multiple links to our job opportunity announcements on USA Jobs. You can search through there, check out our PCV career link. That's also a great opportunity. And so those are a couple places that you can find job opportunities. You can also reach out to us and we will help you connect with offices. And I think, and what we'll do again is we've got a few opportunities that are open right now. We're excited to share with you. We're going to send you guys a list of those opportunities with links, so you can get it, those links and apply to those. So those should be sent out this afternoon. So we appreciate you asking those questions, and we'll get those to you.
That sounds good. Thanks so much, Maria.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Amelia, I saw we had a hand raised from Aziz Ahmad, or
Yeah, perfect. I see the hand went down, but I'm gonna,
okay.
Aziz, I definitely want to acknowledge we did see you flash there for a little bit. So
Excuse
I've
me.
enabled your mic if you want to unmute. If not, you can, we can answer your questions. And if you don't want to ask your questions now, we can answer your questions through email. And so definitely reach out to us. Okay.
While we wait to see if there are any more questions, I definitely would like to thank and acknowledge both of our capable and enthusiastic interpreters today who've helped us reach our whole community. So thank you, Omar and Liz, for great work in joining us today. Also, while we wait to see just briefly for any more questions, thank you for your patience, everyone, and us going a little bit over on time, but I think we had some great input. I would be remiss if I didn't give a chance to ask if Jennifer or Emily or any of our Peace Corps volunteer panel members would like to add anything at the end that has come to mind since we did the abridged version of the HR portion of the presentation. So please feel free. And if each of you would like to say something, that's great. If not, we'll just wait and see if any more questions come up. And then I think we'll probably culminate from there. Emily?
Thanks, Tim. I will, I'll speak on Jennifer's behalf. She left a message in the chat. Unfortunately, she had to go to another meeting. But just, I want to echo everything she wrote and, everything that you all have said. I just really appreciate you pulling this together for everybody, sharing our incredible mission and the opportunities at USCIS. It's a fantastic place to work. I would love to see applications from folks, with the Peace Corps background. We hope you'd consider us. And for those who are on the call who are not yet U.S. citizens, as Amelia said, as you work through that process, once you become U.S. citizens, please consider USCIS as a place to work as well, since the process that people have to go through, what our applicants go through to get here. So thank you so much, everyone.
Actually, I wouldn't mind saying something about the hiring process. Is the just don't look for if you're looking for a specific role, it might not be available or in the location. But feel free to look at like other positions because I know people who've applied and especially Peace Corps volunteers, they've actually then been able to elevate pretty quickly through the ladder. So if you're really willing to serve, you might be willing to take a different role than you originally expected and then take your course path. It is a lot easier once you're in the office and you can actually also see the differing requirements that that position holds. So you never know where you'll actually end up. And I think that's for a lot of people on this panel, they kind of ended up in USCIS, found a role that kind of worked for them, and who knows where they ended up in 10 years down the road.
Thank you, Brendan. And thank you, Emily. Would any of our other panel members care to share any closing remarks?
Tim, I just wanted to quickly mention we have another kind of question in
Okay.
slash statement in the chat. So want to acknowledge that somebody mentioned one challenge for mid-career experienced professionals is quite difficult to get in without Peace Corps non-competitive eligibility. You might be a great fit for an ISO, for example, but without 1 year of experience in immigration, you may have to start at a lower level. And that is true. And as Brendan mentioned, getting in, you may come into at a level or a position that, maybe not your final career goal, but at the same time, definitely keep in mind that there's a lot of opportunities for career progression. So generally with our career ladder progression, within about a year, if you're performing satisfactorily, you can move to the next level in that career ladder. For like a GS 579, if you started at a 5, if in a year you are eligible, and if you are performing satisfactorily, you can move to the 7 level, and then again in a year to the 9. So again, keep in mind that it's a work with CIS is a lifelong endeavor, and there's a lot of room for career growth. So if you can, apply for a lower level to start, your careers can still go anywhere, truly. So we do encourage you to consider all opportunities at all grade levels if you are able to take those, because that's how a lot of us got started in the government, and we've all grown from there. But thank you very much for that question. So Ruben, I see a hand from you. Let me just allow your mic. I think you may have additional questions, and I apologize if we cut you off earlier.
No, I'm all good. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Just want to make sure we took care of your question. Okay. So I think it looks like we've addressed some of the questions. Again, if we've missed you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we, thank you very much for joining us today. To all of our co-presenters, thank you for sharing your experiences. To our Deputy Director, we're so excited that you were able to join us. And for those in attendance, thank you. We look forward to seeing you, hopefully, as part of the USCIS team, the USCIS family in the future.
Thank you so much, Amelia, for putting this together. And I've just very quickly put our link for our email there. If you're just not quite sure where you need to start coming out of this presentation today, please feel free to reach out to Amelia or me at USCIS Talent Acquisition at uscis.dhs.gov, as our charter is to help you find a great place to work, and USCIS hopefully can be your place. Thank you so much, everyone.